Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into something truly foundational, really getting into spiritual knowledge and the nature of ultimate reality. Our source material for this deep dive is rich. It comes from excerpts of a YouTube transcript by the esteemed scholar Habib Umar bin Hafid.
A very deep source, yeah.
Absolutely. And our mission, really, is to extract the most important nuggets on two core concepts. Tawhid, that's the oneness of God.
Right.
And Taqwa, which, is often understood as God consciousness or piety.
Awareness, yeah.
We're going to explore what it means to truly understand the divine and how that understanding can, profoundly shape our lives. We're hoping to offer some surprising insights from this deeply rooted spiritual tradition. It's a journey, this whole deep dive, from belief to lived experience.
And what's truly fascinating here is how these concepts, they're ancient, obviously, but they offer a remarkably relevant roadmap for navigating knowledge, finding purpose, really in any era. If you connect it to the bigger picture, it's not just theology, is it? It's about the very essence of existence and our fundamental relationship to it.
So let's start with Tawhid then. What does it really mean? Our sources emphasize it's not just a simple intellectual belief, not just one God.
No, not at all. It's much deeper.
It's a deep, encompassing understanding of God as absolutely one in his essence, his attributes, and his actions.
Yeah.
Just absolute oneness.
And this raises a really important question. How do we even begin to conceive of that oneness properly,
Yeah, how?
Well, the material highlights a profound principle, ELO-OR, which translates to nothing is like him.
Nothing is like him.
Okay. And this stresses a crucial distinction. You see some attributes like Rauf, which is compassionate, or Rahim, merciful.
Right, we hear those often.
Exactly. They might seem to apply to both God and creation, but the meaning is profoundly different. For God, these attributes are, ancient, eternal, encompassing all things, and absolutely non-decreasing. They just are.
Okay, unchanging, eternal.
Whereas for created beings, us for example, they're temporary, they're limited, and they're entirely bestowed upon us.
So like a borrowed quality, not inherent.
Precisely. A borrowed quality, not inherent. And the text also makes it explicitly clear there's no partner in God's actions or creations. It quotes, "Are there any creators besides Allah who provides for you from the heavens and the earth?"
Rhetorical, obviously.
Completely. Emphasizing that he alone, absolutely alone, is the creator and sustainer.
Okay, so that's the foundation. But here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. A bit paradoxical, maybe?
Yes. The paradox.
Our source shares this profound statement. It's attributed to Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, and he got it directly from the Prophet. Glorified be who did not make for his creation a way to know him except through the inability to know him.
Wow.
So the path to knowing God is through recognizing we can't fully know him. That's quite a twist.
It absolutely is. It really turns our usual idea of knowledge, accumulating facts, completely on its head. And the text offers another gem to clarify this, which I love. The inability to grasp, the grasp is grasping. Allah's on dark al-idrak.
Okay, say that again. The inability to grasp.
The grasp is grasping. It suggests that recognizing our inherent inability, our limitation in fully comprehending God, that recognition itself is a form of profound realization.
So admitting I can't fully get this is actually getting something important.
Exactly. Even the angels, as we learn from the source, people of immense devotion and closeness, they proclaim, "We have not known you as you truly deserve to be known."
Right, despite their station. That still feels quite abstract, though. Can you make that a bit more relatable? What does knowing through inability actually look like?
Yeah, good question. Think of it maybe this way. Our human minds are finite tools, right? And we're trying to grasp an infinite reality. The moment we acknowledge that our finite tools cannot fully contain or define the infinite, well, at that moment, we've actually gained a deeper, more accurate understanding of the infinite than if we tried to foolishly box it in.
Okay, that helps. The map isn't the territory.
Precisely. And to make it even more concrete, look at the story of Moses and Khidr from these sources. It's such a powerful illustration.
Yes, the boat, the boy, the wall.
Exactly. Moses, a great prophet, directed to learn from Khidr, who, on the surface seemed, less significant perhaps.
Right.
And the things Khidr did, damaging the boat, slaying the youth, rebuilding the wall for no apparent reward, they just baffled Moses. He couldn't see the wisdom.
Until Khidr explained the hidden reasons later.
Exactly. And that narrative just powerfully illustrates that there's always knowledge beyond our immediate comprehension. and that true learning often requires patience, silence, and a humble acknowledgement that our understanding is limited.
Patience and silence, not our strong suits usually.
Not usually. And the Prophet Muhammad himself, the source mentions this, actually wished Moses had been more patient, endured more, so he could have witnessed even further wonders.
Right.
It just reinforces this idea of abandoning what is known and unknown, basically, not pinning your ultimate reliance or benefit on anything other than God. Letting go of our need to understand everything.
Trusting in a wisdom far greater than our own. Okay.
That's the core of it.
So building on that, this idea of knowledge that goes beyond just intellect, our source then takes us into a really deep, you could say almost mystical understanding of Tawhid, especially as held by the Ulama Billah, the Gnostics or Sufi masters.
Yes, the knowers of God.
This isn't just about intellectual agreement anymore, is it? It sounds like a deeply lived experience.
Absolutely. It shifts from what we just think about God to how we actually experience God in everything. And the Sufi masters in these texts describe several fascinating aspects of this deeper Tawhid. First, they talk about individuating the pre-eternal for him.
Individuating the pre-eternal. Okay, what does that mean practically?
It means really seeing God as uniquely ancient, utterly beyond anything created, no beginning, no end, and negating any idea that his essence or attributes could have a temporal origin like created things do. His qualities are eternal, not acquired.
Got it. Recognizing God's absolute uniqueness, his otherness in a way, a detachment from anything temporary.
Precisely. And that connects directly to another concept they call leaving homelands, Khuruj and Al-Watan.
Leaving homeland. So that mean literally leaving home?
It can, but it's more profound than that. It really means freeing oneself from reliance on anything created, whether it's kashful habits, relationships, status, wealth, anything the soul clings to for security.
Wow.
And instead, having this continuous flight or turning towards God alone. It's a constant inner movement. The Quranic call to flee to Allah embodied.
Yeah, that's radical, especially today when we're told to build security, find our roots.
It is radical, and it leads right into the next aspect, cutting off loves. Katsal mahab.
Cutting off love. That sounds harsh. Does it mean not loving anyone?
No, not quite like that. It means genuinely loving nothing but God, or rather, loving nothing independent of God. So if anything else is loved, prophets, angels, family, good deeds, it's loved purely for his sake and because he commanded or permits that love.
Okay. So it's recentering all love, directing it properly back to the source.
Exactly. It's a purification of love, not a negation of it. Then there's abandoning what is known and unknown. We touched on this.
Right. Not attributing benefit or purpose ultimately to anything but God, whether we get it or not.
Precisely. Whether it's something we comprehend or something totally beyond our grasp.
I can see how that connects back to the paradox of knowing through inability. What else? You mentioned other aspects.
Yes, a particularly intriguing one mentioned in these teachings is dropping the yas, isquat ayalat. The ya in Arabic often indicates possession, like my.
Dropping the my.
Essentially, yes. Avoiding possessive pronouns and expressions like my, me, for me, and instead attributing all things consciously to God. His, from him, to him, upon him.
That's subtle but powerful.
Very powerful. The source contrasts this humility with the arrogance of Iblis, Satan, saying, Ana khayrun minhu, I am better than him. That assertive I am.
So instead of my success, it's more like his success granted through me, or his blessing upon me.
Exactly, that kind of shift in perspective, attributing everything back to the source.
How might that, applying that principle, attributing all to his, not my, how might that relieve some of the pressure we feel in this achievement-obsessed world?
Oh, profoundly. It alleviates pressure because it frees us from the illusion and the burden of ultimate control or ownership. If everything is fundamentally his, then our failures aren't solely ours to carry in shame, nor are our successes purely ours to puff us up with pride.
Right. It diffuses the ego's grip.
It fosters humility, gratitude. It allows us to act with sincerity and make the effort, but release that tight grip on the outcomes. It's a fundamental shift.
So where does this all lead, this deep Sufi understanding of Tawhid? What's the culmination?
Well, the source explains that the ultimate reality of Tawhid, as described by these elders, culminates in two profound states. Annihilation of humanity, ma al-bashariya, and stripping bare of divinity, tajarrud al-ilahiyya.
Those sound incredibly abstract, maybe even a bit scary. Can you break them down, make them feel more accessible?
Let's try. Think of annihilation of humanity not as literally disappearing, please,
Good.
but more like shedding a heavy cloak, A cloak of ego, heedlessness, self-reliance, reliance on creation. It implies purifying your human nature from all those distractions, harmonizing your inner self completely with divine law, becoming, in a sense, a pure channel for God's will, not your own fragmented desires.
Okay, so purification and alignment. What about the second one, stripping bare of divinity?
That essentially means witnessing only God as the ultimate mover in everything, seeing his hand, his reality, as the first and the last, the manifest and the hidden, the one who raises and lowers, gives benefit and harm.
So it's seeing past the apparent causes to the true cause.
Precisely. Seeing God's agency and presence permeating everything, the good, the challenging, the obvious, the subtle. It's a state of direct witnessing.
Like moving from seeing ourselves as the main characters to realizing we're part of a vast divine play.
That's a good way to put it. And the path to this deep realization, the source clarifies, involves sincerity with God.
Sincerity first.
Always. Then cutting off those attachments we talked about through adhering strictly to commands and avoiding prohibitions. Weakening the whispers of evil, the nafs, the lower self, and transforming desires, shifting them from lower worldly pursuits towards higher spiritual aspirations. All this ultimately leads, God willing, to experiencing these profound realities, not just knowing them intellectually.
Okay, that's a lot to take in on Tawhid. So if Tawhid is about understanding that ultimate reality, God's oneness, then Taqwa seems to be about, well, living in light of that understanding.
Exactly. You got it.
It's often translated as piety, God consciousness, and our source describes it as the absolute foundation, the bedrock for all forms of felicity and success.
That's right. The text defines Taqwa beautifully as warding off his God's wrath and anger by excellent obedience to his commands and avoidance of his prohibitions, motivated by love, reverence, and sincerity for his noble face. It's really comprehensive. Love, awe, sincerity, action.
Love, reverence, sincerity, not just fear.
No, it's much richer than just fear, and its significance is just monumental. The text states Taqwa is the original principle that ensures works endure, and crucially, God only accepts from the God conscious, Unpacking.
Only accepts from the God conscious.
Wow. And it's mentioned over 70 times in the Quran. That alone tells you how central it is.
So it's not just, a virtue among others. It's the virtue that makes other virtues count.
You could say that. A powerful conviction presented in this material is that all good, literally all good, both in this world and the next, resides solely in taqwa and obedience to God. And conversely, all evil, all harm, in both realms stems ultimately from disobedience.
Oh, good. That's a strong claim.
It is. The source emphatically states, no real good in wealth, knowledge, status, power, health, or anything else exists without taqwa. Taqwa is what gives these things true, lasting value. Otherwise, they can even become harmful.
So taqwa is like the essential ingredient that purifies and elevates everything else.
That's a great way to put it. It's the purifier.
Can you give us an example, something that shows how deeply valued just one accepted act born of taqwa really is?
Absolutely. There's this really inspiring anecdote in the source from Imam Omar al-Mudar. He declared that if he knew for certain that God had accepted even a single tasbih, just one utterance of subhanallah, glory be to God from him.
Just one.
Just one single accepted tasbih. He said he would host the entire city of Tarim for 8 days, feeding everyone, just to express his gratitude for that one acceptance.
Wow. For one, subhanAllah. That puts things in perspective.
It really does. It shows the immense value placed not on the quantity of worship, but the quality, the sincerity, the taqwa behind it. That's what matters.
So how do we get there? What's the path to achieving taqwa, according to the source?
Well, the primary path laid out is following the example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who embodied the absolute highest degree of taqwa.
Following the sunnah.
Following the sunnah, yes. The initial step, they call it the first garment of taqwa, is dressing the outer limbs with observing commands and avoiding prohibitions.
So, starting with the external actions, doing the right things, avoiding the wrong things.
Exactly, the outward framework. But then it has to go deeper. This is followed by consciously weakening satanic influences and the whispers of the lower self, transforming desires, as we mentioned with Tawhid, from lower aims to higher ones, and purifying the inner self, the heart, from those worldly attachments.
That sounds like the path to the deeper Tawhid realities as well.
It is. They're intrinsically linked. This inner purification ultimately allows one to reach the lights of these realities, to truly experience the depth of God consciousness of taqwa.
Wow. Okay, what a profound journey we've really taken here. From the ultimate oneness of God, Tawhid, and how we truly know him paradoxically, even through our inability to fully grasp him, all the way to Taqwa, the practical path of living with God consciousness, you've heard how recognizing our limits can actually deepen our knowledge, and how true virtue, true success, is rooted in that sincere, loving connection to the divine. It really feels like a roadmap.
It is a roadmap for a richer, more meaningful existence, truly. And if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, this deep dive, I think, shows us that the most valuable knowledge isn't always about what we can grasp, what we can quantify or master. Sometimes, maybe often, it's about humbly acknowledging what we cannot. Which leaves us and leaves you with an important question, perhaps. In a world that's constantly pushing us to know more, to master everything, to conquer, what might embracing this inability to know actually teach you about real wisdom, about humility, and about the true nature of knowledge itself?